Hello everyone, and happy Halloween. Today, I'm going to be going over a post-mortem for a simple match 3 game I made over the last month for the Halloween season called SpookyMatch. I'll be going over what went right, what went wrong, and what my next plans are. Without further ado, let's get into it. SpookyMatch is a Halloween-themed match 3 game with very basic mechanics made in C++ using the STL3 library. Like any match 3 game, the player simply selects 2 tiles to swap to see if they make a row of 3. The game offers 3 game modes, one where the player has a limited amount of time to play, another where the player has a limited number of moves, and a third where both such resources are infinite and the player can play as long as they like. The game also keeps track of each player's high score for each game mode. Part 1. What went right? Number 1. The Ether Engine. Since the start of the year, I've been working on my own game engine, which I've been calling the Ether Engine. SpookyMatch is the first full game I've published using the engine, and I'd say it went quite well, as having a solid foundation to start with made getting the game done as quickly as I did possible in the first place. Plus, through working on SpookyMatch, I was able to improve the engine even further, adding things like music and improved text alignment. Number 2. Quick turnaround. I've heard it said that a good rule of thumb when measuring the scope of your game is that 1 day of prototyping is equivalent to 1 year of work. So, with that in the Halloween deadline in mind, I obviously wanted to get the prototype for this game done as quickly as possible. While the prototype itself ended up taking me about 2 days, I do have a full-time job after all, I obviously still managed to finish the game within the time limit I set for myself, so I was quite pleased about that. Now, obviously a big part of that was because I wasn't completely starting from scratch, but even so, I was quite pleased with my ability to meet the deadline. Which serves as a nice segue to number 3. Having a set deadline. I started this game in the middle of September, and knew I wanted to have it released by Halloween. With such a tight turnaround, obviously the amount of features I could implement was rather limited. In the end, though, this turned out to be a good thing. Anyone who has worked on a game before knows about feature creep, or the tendency for a developer to want to keep adding features to their game beyond what was originally planned. I've been a victim of this myself on many of my past abandoned projects, hence why they ended up being abandoned and not released. But with a set deadline that I couldn't alter or rationalize myself into extending, I was forced to draw a hard line on the features I could implement versus what I just didn't have time for. And while the game ended up rather simple and bare bones because of it, the important thing is that it was finished. Part 2. What went wrong? Number 1. Tile swapping frustration. I think all game developers know the feeling of expecting a feature to be simple or easy to implement, only to be met with frustration and unforeseen setbacks. For SpookyMatch, this was tile swapping, the whole core mechanic of the game. I kept running into errors and bugs that required more hours than one might think to debug and fix, and some of them I ended up just saying screw it and either didn't fix them or put in a lazy workaround. Obviously, with more time, I could hammer out all these issues and get them working flawlessly, but eventually you just have to learn to say good enough and move on, especially in such a small project. Number 2. The switch to Linux. On October 14th, official support for Windows 10 ended. Tragic, I know. Now, I've been a Windows user all my life, but with every passing year, I've gotten increasingly sick of Microsoft's bullshit, and a forced switch to an operating system I actively hate was the final straw for me. So in early October, I made the switch from Windows 10 to Linux Mint Cinnamon. While overall I'd say the transition has been pretty good, I can still code and play games nearly as easily as I could before, thank you Gabe Newell. This did obviously take some time and energy away from SpookyMatch's development, and in an alternate universe where Microsoft weren't, Microsoft, I probably could have added several more features to the game, like special tiles and sound effects. On top of the Switch itself, I also had to figure out how to cross-compile from Linux to Windows, since obviously a lot of people are still going to be using Windows and playing games on it. So I figured this was something I should figure out now with a relatively simple project, rather than waiting until I was staring down the barrel of a much bigger release. While I did get it working eventually, again, it did take away from time that could have been spent working on interesting or unique features. Number 3. I waited too long to commission art. Typically in game development, you want to wait until you have a solid working prototype that you know is fun and worth spending money on before you go looking for artists and such to commission. After all, you don't want to blow a bunch of money on art and music just to get halfway through development and realize that your game isn't fun and you should instead work on something else. However, since I knew from the start that I'd be seeing SpookyMatch through to the end, I really should have just bit the bullet and contacted my artist pretty much from the jump. This would have made it so I had something attractive to show off early and would have given us plenty of time to work out any kinks or make any desired changes. As it stands, I didn't contact my artist until I was about halfway through development, and that made our deadlines a bit tighter than I would have liked. Part 3. Looking forward and what's next. Number 1. A project I can be proud of. Should come as no surprise that, honestly, I really don't give a shit about Match 3 games, and I don't personally know of anyone who does. Obviously, no disrespect to those who do, but simple arcade games aren't why I got into game development. So for my next project, I want to take the time and effort to really craft something I can be proud of. A good game with some real heart and soul behind it that people will be interested in and want to play. I already have a pretty strong idea of what I want this project to look like, and I'm setting a tentative release date of December 2026, or 14 months from now. Obviously, I won't be able to do anything crazy in that time, but that isn't the goal. The goal is to create a game that I can be proud of. Number 2, regular devlogs. As part of my commitment to this new project, I want to start putting out regular monthly devlogs covering my progress on the game and what I've worked on that month, including what features I've implemented, what bugs I've squashed, how well I'm doing on meeting my milestones, and anything else of note. So with that in mind, look forward to the first devlog at the end of November, wherein I'll hopefully have a working prototype to show off and a solid plan for the next year. I think that'll just about do it for this post-mortem. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in playing SpookyMatch for yourself, you can download it on itch.io now for Windows and Linux from the link in the description. Or if you want to download the code and mess around with it yourself, maybe iterate on it and add your own features, there's a link to the GitHub repo as well. Leave a comment telling me about what projects you're working on or would like to work on, and subscribe or follow me on Twitter to stay updated on my journey. Thank you.